Hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking about the Brinyte WT01 Apollo. This light was sent out to me for review. This light has a bunch of features. It has wireless charging with the USB charging port. It has a luminous SST40 LED. It's compatible with 26650 batteries, and it also has a 18650 battery adapter. It does have intelligent power indicator lights on it. It has overcharge, over discharge, and overheat protection, as well as a regulated power supply, which maintains the constant brightness of it. It has reverse polarity protection, and it also has toughened glass with anti-reflective coating. It's made out of aluminum alloy, and it has a Type 3 hard anodized abrasive finish. The run times are 4 different modes plus strobe and SOS. Strobe's going to be about 1,100 lumens. Low is going to be about 10 lumens to 9,000 minutes. Middle is going to be 70 lumens to about 2,000 minutes. High is going to be about 430 lumens to 350 minutes. And turbo is going to be 1,100 lumens for 280 minutes. The beam intensity is measured at 25,475 candela. Beam distance is about 320 meters or 349.96 yards. It's impact resistant to 1 meter. It's also waterproof for IP68 rating. The working voltage is going to be 3.0 to 4.5 volts. Dimensions of the light is going to be 156 millimeters in length by 33 millimeters in body diameter and 45 millimeters in head diameter. The weight's going to be 235 grams or 0.52 pounds, excluding the battery. Here we can see the box the WT01 comes in. We have the manual, the light itself, the carrying case for the light. We have the wireless charging cradle with the USB cord that comes with it. We have a power adapter for the wall for an American version. We have the 18650 adapter for the battery. We also have a USB to 12-volt socket adapter here for charging mobile. And we have the 26650 5,000 milliamp hour battery from Brinyte. It has integrated overcharge, discharge circuit protection inside of it. And this one's a flat top cell. It's not really a button top. And then we have some extra O-rings too as well that comes in the box. Here we have the WT01 Apollo. We can see the switch, the E-switch here, which has the LEDs inside the switch light itself, the boot, and it glows green or red depending on the charge status. It's a smooth, hard anodized coating on the light here, not too much texturing. It's just basically a smooth light. On the other side, we have the Brinyte logo and the hot sign here that's cut out. And the tail cap is smooth. The back of it has no actuator. It's just one switch in the front here. And we can see the bezel here as well. There's no crenulations. We can see the SST40 LED inside there with a smooth peel reflector for a far throw. So this light comes apart in 3 different parts. A tail part, a tube, and the head. I'm going to open up the head side here to look at the threads of it. We'll take our battery out here. And we can see here the threads of the light. They appear to be square cut, not too deep. We have some grease there and an O-ring here for the sealing for the IP68 rating. And the tube here, which we'll get another light to look at. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that there in the camera. You can see the spring inside of there. And much like the other side, the head unit, we do have another spring here with the threading and the driver plate here. This appears to be glued in as well as soldered in. I'm not sure why they decided to use glue in that case, but it does work fairly decently. Let's go ahead and load up the battery inside and just show what happens when you load the battery in. The light will turn on because it makes contact. It'll come on in low mode here. So we're going to do the UI test here. This light has several different modes to it. To access the strobe and the SOS mode, you simply hold down the switch for 2 seconds and it'll come on in strobe mode. To rotate, you push once and it'll go to the SOS mode. Push once again and it'll turn off. This light will always come on in high mode in the cycling. There's no memory modes to this. So we push once to get the turbo mode. once to go down to high mode, another press to medium mode, and then another press to low mode here. And that is the basic UI with the electronic switch here. Here we have the light on the table in low mode with the Oppo Lightmaster Pro light meter and the information here on the side for measuring approximation of the lux output for the hotspot or close to the hotspot here in our case, and the temperature rating and the CRI rating basically. What we're trying to do is just show how the light pushes out lumens. This is not a scientific test, but sort of almost a real world test where you actually be using the light and you can kind of measure, okay, this is what I'll probably get. And again, this is not entirely realistic either. I'm about 2 to 3 feet off the table and we're directly down into the Lightmaster Pro here. So here we are on low mode. We have about maybe a measurement about 2600 lux, 2700 lux, and about 5.5K temperature rating and about 64-ish, 65-ish CRI rating. Now we can see the hotspot is nice. It's got no artifacts in it. It's got a nice spill outside of it. There's no artifacts in the spill area as well, so it shows up pretty well. Let's go ahead to do medium mode. Okay, so we're in medium mode now, so it gets a little bit brighter. And I'm going to go directly onto the light meter there. And now we're up to about maybe 1300 lux or so, approximately. And it's about the same exact temperature rating, around 5500K, 5700K, and same CRI rating. Let's go to the higher mode here. So we are in high mode, and that almost washes out the camera here. And our lux is pretty intense. It won't measure it directly, so we can get the edge there and kind of get an idea. So we're roughly dealing about over 50,000 lux for sure, but it's still maintaining a similar CRI rating and temperature rating as well. As you can see, the hotspot is nice and easy to see, and the spill intensifies more to see more peripheral vision, which is good. And let's go ahead and change it to turbo mode here in a moment. Okay, we are in turbo mode, and as you can see, it just washes out everything. And we really can't get a measurement, much like on high mode, of the type of information for the lux output at this distance at least. Here we have the WT01 in the wireless charging dock with the micro USB cable powering it through a power bank here. We are taking a current draw of 5.07 volts at about 1.14 amps. And here we can see the light on the switch of the WT01 is red. This will turn green when this is finished. It might be hard to see right now in the washout of colors, but it is on at the moment. And as stated in the manual, if you take this out or if it loses power, this light will automatically turn on in low mode. And it'll turn off once it engages near the electromagnetic field to charge it. Interesting thing to note is once you take the light out, this thing still is drawing a small current of about 0.14 amps. So it will drain your battery here. So it's probably best to disconnect this entire unit from any portable battery supply or solar panel units if you don't want this active and engaged. Okay, we're outside shooting at an aperture 3.5, 24 frames per second. ISO is 2500 with a white balance of 5000K on a Panasonic GH2 with a 14 to 42 millimeter lens. Here we have the light on low mode here, and in front of me is about 10 to 15 feet. We can see the spot. Throws out pretty nice. And you can't see it on the camera, but there is a nice spillover for the floaty part of the optic. Let's go ahead and turn this off and get to the next highest mode. Okay, now we have medium mode. So we can see a log there out at about 22, 23 feet. Some more logs in the yard there. We have the brook on the left. So nice, bigger hotspot, a little bit more definition. We can see the wood pile from the down tree about 35 to 40 feet out in the yard there. Let's go up to the high stage. Here we have the light on high, and we can see a lot more out in the distance here. There's that stump about 25 feet out. The wood pile about another 35 to 40 feet out. And then the back of the yard at about 60 feet out or so. Right out there at the edge of the property. We can see the forest line there. And we have the brook here on the left as it creeps up. Okay, let's go to turbo mode here. And we can see the brook is really well lit up. And it's a really nice hot spot. Beautiful beam. Looks much better off the camera, but this is what we have for filming equipment right now. There's our stump, the wood pile, and the back of the yard here. So this definitely has a lot of throw to it and a lot of light coming out. And if you can see in the bottom here, this section here, when I hold the light up here, it's still lighting up, illuminating the area pretty well too as well. Let's do strobe mode and SOS mode. Overall, the WT01 Apollo is a decent light. It's got a nice ergonomical shape. It's got a really beautiful beam profile. It's got decent run times and a pretty neat wireless charging system. And it's a fairly straightforward light to use, and has the SST40 LED inside of it. It's got a nice reflector in there that throws out a nice beam with no artifacts. And it's just a solid design in your hand to grab. That being said, I think some improvements that they can make with this is upgrading the LED inside of it to another option of like a high CRI, warmer color tint perhaps, and maybe changing the UI out. That's probably one of the negative things I can say about the light, is that the UI is not the greatest, and that you have to cycle through the modes to get to what you want. I'd much rather have a quick mode access to turbo other than just pushing the button once, and a memory mode would be nice for this light here, as well as a beacon mode. The wireless charging is pretty neat. There is one negative though I have to say about it, is that it draws current even when the light's out of it, so it will drain your portable battery supplies. And I understand why they did the design of this light will turn on when the power goes out in the charging station. It's for emergency use, so theoretically you would have this plugged into the wall. I think that's the intention for the charging unit, so that this will turn on when the lights go out. However, if the lights go out and you're not at home, it will drain the battery, and now you won't have a light when you get home if the power's out. So you kind of have to plan that ahead. So I think maybe if they made a switch where you can turn that on off, or in the UI where you can engage that mode, that would be nice to have that kind of option. So overall, other than those negative things about the light, I think it's a decent light. It's got some decent run times for its modes. The turbo will throttle down due to the heat, because it has a heat management system inside the light. So the turbo won't run for their specified time that they listed, I believe. And it'll revert back to high mode, which is plenty of bright light in my opinion anyway. So it's not a big deal to me, but for lumen chasers out there, it might be an issue. Overall, it's a nice design. I think I'd recommend to somebody who's looking for a house light or a emergency car light that they won't have plugged in all the time. And just make sure to watch your portable battery systems when you're going to charge this light and its batteries. And that's all I pretty much have to say about the WT01 Apollo from Brinyte. Once again, I'd like to thank them for sending it out for review. And take care, guys.